नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमा ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So I would like to welcome everyone again to this 18-day session on the greatest, the highest, the topmost among all the Vedic scriptures, among all the Vedic literatures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam is most often confused along with the Bhagavad Gita. So these are two different literatures, the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavad Gita is the direct spoken word of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Bhagavad Gita means the song of God. Bhagavat is in the Shashtha or in the sixth Vibhakti, which means of God, and Bhagavad Gita means the song of the Supreme Absolute Truth of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam literally means, Bhagavatam means both the words Bhagavat as well as Bhagavatam are derived from the same word, the root word Bhagavan. And from Bhagavan, Bhagavad Gita means the song of God, and Bhagavatam means the follower of God. So Bhagavatam is the wonderful description of the greatest devotees and followers who have completely realized the supreme absolute truth, who are completely situated in God realization. So the first step in spirituality is self-realization, and the final ultimate stage in spirituality is God realization. And therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the wonderful narration of the complete process and the factual realization of the great devotees who have realized the supreme absolute truth. The Bhagavad Gita contains 18 chapters and 700 shlokas, whereas the Srimad Bhagavatam contains 12 cantos, 335 chapters, and 18,000 shlokas. The Srimad Bhagavatam is composed by the same author, Vedavyasa, and in fact is the continuation of the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. So, in other words, Srimad Bhagavatam begins from the point where Bhagavad Gita ends or concludes. The Srimad Bhagavatam is very nicely summarized in the Garuda Purana as Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayaha Gayatri Bhashya Ruposau Vedartha Paribrimhitaha Purananam Samarupaha Sakshad Bhagavatoditaha. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the true meaning of the Brahma Sutra or the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutra is actually the most concise presentation of the entirety of the Vedic knowledge. The entire Vedic knowledge has been presented in concise sutras known as Vedanta Sutra, or also known as the Brahma Sutra. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is the Arthaha, the true meaning, or in fact, it is also stated that Bhashyoyam Brahma Sutranam, that this is the direct explanation or the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the self same author Veda Vyasa. And therefore, this is the most perfect explanation of the science of Vedanta. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayaha. The complete import, the purport of Bharata or Mahabharata is presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. Likewise, Gayatri Bhashya Ruposau, the exact meaning of the Brahma Gayatri is present in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, the Srimad Bhagavatam begins with a Gayatri mantra in 1.1.1, and Vedartha Paribrimhitaha, the entire Vedic knowledge is completely summarized in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Or, in other words, we can say that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the complete essence of all the Vedic teachings. It is compared to Saram Saram Udahritam. It is like the cream of all the Vedic knowledge. If the Vedic scriptures are compared to an ocean of milk, the cream of the entire Vedic knowledge is the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is explained as Dvadasha Skandha Yuktoyam, contains 12 skandha or cantos. Shatavicheda Samyutaha, it contains 335 chapters. Grantho Ashtadasha Sahasraha, and it has 18,000 shlokas. Srimad Bhagavatabhitaha. So this is the composition of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We will be beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam from Canto 1 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains 19 chapters and 808 shlokas. So this is very interesting to note here that the Bhagavad Gita contains 700 shlokas, and the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 contains 808 shlokas, exactly 108 shlokas, more than the entire text of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many wonderful descriptions and prayers or Mahatmya, glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam found in all the Vedic scriptures, and I shall chant a few of the prayers offered to the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also explained in many scriptures, even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that idam Bhagavatam nama Puranam Brahma Sammitam. In 1.3.40 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Srimad Bhagavatam is directly the sound incarnation of the supreme absolute truth of Brahman. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the direct Swarupa of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the Grantha Avatara. It is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in his teachings. So therefore, there are many wonderful prayers offered to the Srimad Bhagavatam as Sarva Shastrabdhi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satphala. The Srimad Bhagavatam is like the nectar churned from the ocean of all the Shastras. Sarva Shastra Abdhi. Abdhi means an ocean, and just like it is explained that in long past history, the Devatas and Danavas came together and they did Manthana, the Samudra Manthana. They churned the entire milk ocean to obtain nectar. And likewise, the uh, Srimad Bhagavatam is the nectar derived from Sarva Shastra, from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures. Sarva Vedaika Satphala. It is the transcendental fruit of all the Vedas. It is Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya. Here, the Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to some very, very beautiful examples, some beautiful uh, comparisons are given here, that it is compared to nectar, it is compared to a fruit, it is compared to the most valuable jewel, it is compared to the supreme light, it is compared to the life and soul. So in this way, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya, it is enriched with all the jewels of all the final conclusions, the Siddhantas, and Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the one ultimate source of divine knowledge which grants spiritual vision to the entire universe, to the entire world. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, it is the life and soul, it is the prana of all the Bhagavatas, of all the followers of Bhagavan. And Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvanto Didaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. The Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly like the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of the present age called Kali Yuga. Actually, it is non-different from the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. In fact, Shri Krishna Parivartita, the Supreme Lord Krishna has returned, has come back again in the form of the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Paramananda Pathaya. Srimad Bhagavatam is the most wonderful narration, and it immediately awakens pure love and bliss towards the Supreme Lord. Paramananda Pathaya Premavarshi Aksharayate. Every syllable of the Srimad Bhagavatam is filled with pure love of God. Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya, it is to be served by everyone at all times. And Shri Krishnaya Namostute, because it is directly the incarnation of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And Mad Ekabandho Mad Sangin Mad Guru Man Mahatana Man Nistaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, you are my supreme and only friend, my companion, my teacher, my great wealth, and my deliverer. My deliverer. I offer my most humble, respectful obeisances unto you, O Srimad Bhagavatam. Asadhu sadhuto dayin atinichottacha kara hanamuncha kadachinmam premna hritkantaya spura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, please manifest always in the core of my heart and always come to my throat, to my Vani, to my speech, so that I and everyone derives the highest benefit from your spiritual, from your transcendental divine instructions. So these are some of the few prayers offered to Srimad Bhagavatam. And as I stated earlier, the Srimad Bhagavatam begins from where the Bhagavad Gita concludes, and therefore Srimad Bhagavatam is regarded to be the postgraduate study in spirituality. So if spirituality is taken up as a course, the graduate study is the study of the Bhagavad Gita, and the postgraduate, the ultimate study of spiritual knowledge, is Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, there is a saying that Vidya Bhagavatavadhihi, the final ultimate end of all knowledge, of all Vidya, is Vidya Bhagavatavadhihi. When is it to be ascertained that one has reached the pinnacle of all knowledge? It is when one takes up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So now, without any further delay, let us dive into the infinite, endless ocean of the Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with Canto 1. Canto 1 of the Srimad Bhagavatam contains 19 chapters and 808 shlokas. And beginning from chapter 1, we have the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains 23 shlokas or 23 verses and is entitled as The Questions by the Sages of Naimisharanya. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken at a place called Naimisharanya, which is a very, very sacred forest. Aranya means forest, and Naimisha refers to the place that is very sacred to Animisha Kshetra. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.4, it is stated that Naimishe Animisha Kshetre Rishayah Shaunakadayah. Naimisharanya is very sacred, especially to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. It is the place where the hub of the entire universe is located. There is a Manomaya Chakra created by Lord Brahma at the beginning of creation, and the hub of that wheel of creation is fixed at Naimisharanya. It is explained in many, many scriptures that Naimisharanya is especially conducive for any spiritual discussion, for spiritual advancement. So, in this very sacred and holy place called Naimisharanya, which is even now presently located in the state of Uttar Pradesh, about 100 kilometers north of the capital of Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, Naimisharanya is even today present very, very beautifully. It's a very sanctified place. Even the exact spot where Suta Goswami, the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam, sat and spoke this most divine knowledge is also present, known as Suta Gaddi. So the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken at Naimisharanya. The Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Suta Goswami, and it was spoken to a huge assembly of sages who were headed. The leader of the assembly of the sages was a great advanced spiritualist or transcendentalist by name Shaunaka Rishi. So the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Suta Goswami. It was spoken to the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi. The Srimad Bhagavatam was heard by Suta Goswami from another great divine personality by name Shukadeva Goswami. So Shukadeva Goswami is the direct son of the great sage Veda Vyasa, and Shukadeva Goswami spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam earlier to Parikshit. Parikshit, who is the grandson of Arjuna. Arjuna and Subhadra's son is Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu's son is Parikshit. So the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and later again narrated by Suta Goswami to the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi. Actually, the Srimad Bhagavatam was learned by or understood by Shukadeva Goswami from his father Vedavyasa, who was inspired to compose and write the Srimad Bhagavatam by the divine instructions of the great sage Narada, who had been instructed by Brahma, who had been who was given this original knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam directly by the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So this is the brief history of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is a wonderful uh, preface or a preamble to the complete content of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The first chapter, the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the major topics which are found in the first canto are the questions by the sages of Naimisharanya, and then the answers given by Suta Goswami. Then there is the description of the various incarnations of the Supreme Lord, especially the Leela avatars and the Purusha avatars. Then there is also the history of the compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Vedavyasa, by the divine inspiration of his spiritual master Narada, or the history of Vedavyasa, who is the composer and compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam, and also the history of Narada, the inspiration for the composition of Srimad Bhagavatam is found. There is also the description of the events that took place after the Battle of Mahabharata, especially the chastisement, the punishment of Ashwatthama. There are also the most wonderful, uh, glorious prayers offered by some of the greatest devotees of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, especially by Queen Kunti and also by Bhishma Deva. There is also the description of the departure of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna from Hastinapura to Dwaraka and the prayers offered by the women of Hastinapura. The liberation of Dhritarashtra and the final disappearance of the Pandavas, the greatest devotees of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, is explained in detail. And finally, the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto explains the wonderful history of Maharaj Parikshit, the main recipient of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it also discusses the history of the main speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is Shukadeva Goswami. So this is the main contents of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we shall have a summary study of the first canto and subsequently all the cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So beginning with the questions by the sages of Naimisharanya. So this is the setting of the Srimad Bhagavatam. All the great transcendentalists, the great spiritualists of the whole world, of the entire universe, have assembled at this very sacred and holy place, Naimisharanya, and they have seated Suta Goswami. They have chosen, they have selected Suta Goswami to be the speaker on the subject for which they are very eager to hear. The beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first three verses are very, very important and very, very wonderful. They are the auspicious uh, chants of invocation of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So, beginning with the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, text number 1 is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. The first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Satyam Param Dhimahi. It is a Gayatri mantra, and it's a very, very wonderful verse which gives exactly 8 definitions of the Supreme Absolute Truth, herein addressed as Param Satyam or Satyam Param Dhimahi. So, in the first shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 8 precise, perfect, complete definitions of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So here, just like we have a systematic study of any subject, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the complete science of God. It is the most systematic and scientific presentation of the complete knowledge of God. And beginning with the first verse, it gives 8 definitions of the Supreme Absolute Truth, 8 definitions of God. So, what are they? Janmadyasya yato. The first definition of God or the Supreme Absolute Truth is actually the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutra begins with Om Athato Brahma Jigyasa, that the human form of life is meant to inquire into the real spiritual truth, especially to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And what is that Brahman or Absolute Truth? That has been stated in the second Vedanta Sutra as Om Janmadyasya Yataha Om. That the Supreme Absolute Truth, uh, this is very, very important to understand, because unless we know the meaning of God, we will never be able to understand or proceed any further in any kind of proper and true understanding of God. This is a very important thing, especially in the present scenario, in the current circumstances, because our Acharya Srila Prabhupada used to give a very nice illustration that once a villager heard that the most valuable thing is gold. And this ignorant villager was not having proper knowledge about the qualities, or about, he did not know basically anything about gold, and but he just heard that it's the most valuable thing, and he set out and he went to the city, and as soon as he came across the first shop, he entered and inquired that please give me 1 kg of gold. But it happened to be a hardware shop, and the shopkeeper, the owner, understood that this person who is inquiring for gold in a hardware shop should definitely be ignorant about the real the real nature or quality of gold. And he found an opportunity here. The shopkeeper went inside and brought 1 kg of scrap iron and presented that as gold. And the ignorant villager, without proper knowledge and understanding, took iron. He paid the price of gold, but he got uh, some iron in return. In this way, the villager, due to his ignorance, was cheated. And in this way, likewise, similarly, this kind of a scenario is also happening in the present day. People hear about God, but they do not even have the basic understanding of the meaning or definition of God. And with such gross ignorance, when they set out in the search of God, there are many, many people, just like the shopkeeper, who are ready to cheat, the to misdirect the gullible, innocent, not just innocent, but the ignorant masses in the knowledge of God, in the knowledge of God. In fact, when we get cheated in some commercial transaction, the loss is only of some wealth or money. But when we are misdirected or cheated in the knowledge of God, the price that we have to pay is the surrender of our life and soul and heart. So, which is a much, much uh, greater loss. It's a much greater harm that can take place. And today, this is a very unfortunate and sad situation that there is practically a supermarket of God or gods, that if you go one round all across India or all across the world, one would come across millions of people claiming to be God, and there are millions of other people who blindly, ignorantly follow such false, such misdirected gods. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, if one understands even this first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives the most precise and exact definition of the supreme absolute truth of God, one will never be misdirected, one would never be cheated in the matter of the understanding of God. So what is the meaning of God? The first meaning is Janmandyasya yataha. The supreme absolute truth is the primeval, original, ultimate cause of everything, or the cause of all causes. So we should know that God, or the supreme absolute truth, is by definition the final in this world. Whatever we see, uh, everything is a relative truth, sat and asat. For every effect that we see, there is a cause behind it. Just like if you observe a long train passing on a railway track, if you see the final bogie of the train, bogie number 50, the cause for the movement of the bogie number 50 is because it is being pulled by bogie number 49. Now, what is the cause for the movement of compartment number 49? It is because compartment number 48 is pulling it. So, there is cause and there is effect. There is effect and there is cause. And in this way, if we continue on and on and on, when we come to bogie number 1, what is the cause for the movement of bogie number 1? It is the engine. And what is the movement of the cause of the engine? The engine is comparable to the absolute truth. It has got everything complete in itself, by which it has the quality of movement, and it is moving. It is the cause of the movement of 1, to 50. So all the bogies from 1 to 50 can be compared to relative truths, and the engine can be compared to the absolute truth. Or just like to give a simple example, that we can say that the cause of each and every one of us is our parents. Now, what is the cause of our parents? It is our grandparents. And who is their cause? It is our great grandparents. And in this way, if we go on and on and on and on, the final, original, ultimate cause is the supreme absolute truth. So this is the first definition. This is in fact a very, very important definition of the supreme absolute truth. Whenever we look at this vast sky, this world around us, any inquisitive person should have this inquiry, that where has all this come from? What is the origin of all this? So this is the definition, that the supreme absolute truth is the origin, the cause of everything. Janmadyasya yataha. The second definition is anvayar itaratascha agtheshu abhignaha. Abhignaha means the supreme absolute truth is not just the cause of everything, but the supreme absolute truth is also completely conscious or completely aware of everything, directly and indirectly. Anvayad itarataha abhignaha. Abhignya is comparable to the word sarvagnya, or being omniscient. The supreme absolute truth, God, is the origin of everything, the supreme origin, the supreme cause of all causes. The second definition is the supreme absolute truth is omniscient or all-knowing. This is such a significant definition of God. There are many people who claim that I am God or I am an incarnation of God, but if they are even asked a simple question that, my dear sir or madam, if you are God, you should be omniscient, and being omniscient, you must be able to tell at least how many hair are there on your head. So a person who cannot even know how many hairs are there on one's head, or how many cells are there in one's own body, so how can anyone claim that such a person is God? Or how can what is the extent of the grossness of our ignorance to accept such people to be God? So the real definition of God is that he is the supreme origin. He is supremely conscious and aware. He knows. The supreme Lord, the supreme absolute truth, knows how many hairs are there on our head, how many cells are there in our body, how many atoms are there in the entire universe. He knows everything. That is the meaning of omniscience or all-knowing. The third definition of the supreme absolute truth is he is Swarat. Swarat means he is completely independent, because there is no other cause beyond him. The fourth definition is Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. The first Adi Kavi, the first living entity, the original living being in this material manifested universe is Brahma. And Brahma was enlightened by the Supreme Lord. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So he is the origin of all knowledge, even to the first living being of this universe. The fifth definition is Muhyanti Yat Surayaha. By the Supreme Lord, by God, even the great sages and all the devatas are placed into moha or illusion. The sixth definition is Tejovari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Sargo Mrisha. Only because of the Supreme Lord, by his illusory energy, the material universes although temporary, manifested by the three modes of nature, they appear, they seem to be factual, although they are illusory, they are unreal. The seventh definition is Dhamna Svena Sada. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Absolute Truth is eternally existent in His Svena Dhama, in His own divine, spiritual, transcendental abode, in His eternal kingdom of God. And the eighth definition is Nirasta Kuhakam. The Supreme Lord and the spiritual world of God is forever free from any kind of illusion or kuhakam. There is not even a tinge of illusion or any kind of material incongruity in the spiritual world or in the Supreme Lord. And Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate on that Supreme Absolute Truth. Now, these are the definitions of God, definitions of the Supreme Absolute Truth. But the most important question now, which remains to be answered, is who or what is that absolute truth? So there are many Vadis, like there are Brahmavadis, there are Bhagavatvadis, there are Nirakaravadis. There are Mimamsakas, there are Yogavadis, there are many kinds of philosophers who claim that their conclusion is the real understanding of Param Satya or the Supreme Absolute Truth. But here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the final ultimate revelation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, who fits into all the eight definitions, all the definitions of God are completely fulfilled by the one and only one divine, transcendental, supreme personality. And that is revealed in 1.1.1 as Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That supreme absolute truth is Bhagavan, Vasudeva, or Krishna. Actually, every definition of the Supreme Absolute Truth as described here in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is also perfectly explained by the Supreme Lord Himself, by Krishna Himself, in various parts, in various chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Just like the first definition of the Supreme Absolute Truth being the original cause of everything. In Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha mattaha sarvam pravartate, that I am the source of everything. It is also stated in the Brahma Samhita that sarva karana karanam Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karanam, that the supreme cause of all causes is Krishna. Likewise, the second definition, that the supreme absolute truth is Abhignaha, or all-knowing or omniscient, is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.26, wherein Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani cha arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. Krishna says that I know everything in 7.26 of the Bhagavad Gita. Likewise, the third definition, that the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is Swarat, or supremely independent, and there is no cause beyond him, is explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, that Mattaha parataram nanyad kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. That the Supreme Lord is the one independent supreme cause, and everything else is completely dependent on this supreme absolute truth, on Shri Krishna. The fourth definition, that uh, the supreme absolute truth is the original source of all knowledge, including to the first living being, that is Brahma, is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita in the 11th chapter, wherein Krishna is addressed by Arjuna in his prayers that Brahmanopi Adi Katre, in 11.37, that Krishna, you are the creator and the knowledge giver of even the Adi Karta Brahma. And likewise, the fifth definition, Muhyanti yat Surayaha, that even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion by the Supreme Absolute Truth. This is repeated many times in the Bhagavad Gita, especially in Bhagavad Gita 10.3, wherein Krishna says that Name viduhu suraganaha prabhavam na maharshayah aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashah. That even the host of devatas and the sages are unable to understand or know me, because I am the source of all of them. The next definition, the sixth definition, that Tejovari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha, that this material world, although illusory, appears to be factual, is reiterated in Bhagavad Gita 7.13 and 14, that Tribhir Gunamayer Tribhir Gunamayer Bhaver Ebhi Sarvamidam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mamebhya Paramam Vyayam Daivi Hiesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite, that this entire material universe is completely under illusion, and hence no one under Maya can realize the supreme absolute truth. The seventh definition, Dhamna Svena Sada, that the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is eternally existent in his transcendental abode, is repeated many, many times in the Bhagavad Gita, especially in 8.21, 8.20, as well as in 15.6. Repeatedly, Krishna says that Yad Gatva Nanivartante Tadhama Paramam Mama. Krishna says that Tad Dhama Paramam Mama, that this is my eternal spiritual abode. Having attained once, no one returns to this miserable temporary material world. And finally, Nirasta Kuhakam, that the Supreme Lord and the spiritual world is forever free from any kind of illusion, is also many, many times stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Just like in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punag janma neti mameti sojana, that all my activities, my birth, everything is completely divine, completely spiritual, completely transcendental, without the slightest tinge of material nature or of the inferior gunas, the modes of material nature. So if anyone just remembers these 8 definitions of God, and then one tries to understand the real meaning of God, first of all, one would never ever be misdirected or cheated in the understanding of God, and gradually, by the direction, by the guidance of the Srimad Bhagavatam, one can very clearly understand that the supreme absolute truth is none other than Bhagavan Vasudevaha. Moving to the second verse, is the wonderful description of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says Dharmah projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaraణam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmoolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parenishvaraha Sadyo hridya varudhyate trakritibi shushrushubhistat kshanat Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. This Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the beginning of true divine transcendental religious principles. The conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is given in 18.66 as Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, at the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, gives his supreme instruction to abandon all varieties of religion and completely, exclusively surrender unto him. Sharanagati to the Supreme Lord is the final ultimate teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam begins from the point where Bhagavad Gita concludes or ends. Bhagavad Gita ends with complete surrender to the Supreme Lord Krishna, and Bhagavatam begins from after you surrender completely to the Supreme Absolute Truth, to Sri Krishna. What next? Dharmaha projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatraya unmoolanam. This Srimad Bhagavatam presents the Vastava Vastu, the real supreme absolute truth, without any mixture of any material elements, and it is tapatraya unmoolanam. It completely eradicates all the material miseries arising from the three sources of adhyatmika, adhibhautika, and adhidaivika. The Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Krite has been composed by the great sage, the incarnation of the Supreme Lord as Veda Vyasa. The great sage Veda Vyasa is regarded to be the literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and Mahamuni Krite Kim va paraihi. Just this one literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam is sufficient, and there is no need for any other literature for the understanding of spiritual knowledge. Because sadyo hridi avarudhyate atraha kritibihi shushrushubhis tat kshanat. By proper oral reception to the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord is immediately captured in the core of one's heart. And the third verse, the Mangalacharana Shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, very beautifully presents and encourages and inspires everyone to take up the study of this great message of Srimad Bhagavatam as Nigamakalpataror Galitam Phalam Shukamukhad Amrita Drava Samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. The Srimad Bhagavatam is again very beautifully compared here to a Galitam Phalam, to a most ripened and a nice fruit of Nigama Kalpataroho, of the desire tree of the entire Vedic knowledge of all the Vedic scriptures. Nigama kalpataruhu. Taru means a tree, a kalpataru means a wish-fulfilling tree, and Nigama refers to all the Vedas. So if all the Vedas are compared to a wish-fulfilling tree, which they definitely are, because the Vedas contain the entirety of all knowledge, and by deriving any specific knowledge, one can attain the fulfillment of any wish or desire that one may have, either material or spiritual. So the Vedas are compared to a wish fulfilling tree, Nigamat Kalpataroho, and just like in a mango tree, one may have the trunk, the root, and the various branches and the leaves, but the ultimate benefit of a mango tree would be a fruit. In fact, the ripened sweet fruit. So, likewise, if all the Vedas are compared to a tree, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Ghalitam Phalam, is the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree. Uh, Nigama kalpataroho ghalitam phalam shukamukhad amrita drava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam. Here Bhagavatam is compared to Rasam Alayam, the or Rasalaya, the repository of all divine Chinmaya Rasa. This Rasa is a very, very important subject matter. It is the main thing which drives everyone. Each and everyone is after some rasa. Even the Atma is explained to be Anandamayo Bhyasat. In the Upanishads, the Supreme Absolute Truth is explained to be Raso Vaisaha Rasam Hi Evayam Labdva Anandi Bhavati. That the Supreme Absolute Truth is the reservoir of all rasas, and those rasas are presented here in the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Rasalaya, or the treasure house, the ocean of all divine rasas. So therefore, the author encourages that Pibata, please drink this most nectarian rasa, the divine mellows of all spiritual knowledge and of all spiritual values and relationships, the spiritual relationships of the Jivatmas with the Paramatma, with the Supreme Lord. All this is completely presented here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Pivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Bhuvi Muhuraho Bhuvi Bhavukaha. One is encouraged to relish the nectarian message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Muhuhu means repeatedly, again and again, because the divine rasa of the Srimad Bhagavatam is completely spiritual and can immediately elevate one onto the spiritual platform of divine realization of one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So, this is the brief introduction to the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the first three verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. From tomorrow, we shall have a summary study. So we shall be going much more faster in our narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. What are the wonderful questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanya? They asked 6 questions to Suta Goswami, and what were the answers given by Suta Goswami, and what are the wonderful incarnations, the Purusha avatars and the Leela avatars of the Supreme Lord, of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So this we shall hear tomorrow. And if you have any questions, any inquiries about today's subject matter, you are most welcome to post it on the WhatsApp group or in the comments box. Please do subscribe to the channel below by clicking on the subscribe icon. Do like the videos, and please do join us tomorrow at 5:30 for the continuation of the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.